Hey, buddy. Here. Here, sheep, sheep. Here, sheep, sheep, sheep. Here, sheep, sheep. Here, sheep, sheep. Here now, sheep. Here, Grandma. Oh. Yeah, that's bug spray. Hey, don't bite me. I don't have any food for you. Bertha. The reason I was playing guitar earlier just reminds me of something. Something that my grandpa was dying, and he said, one of the last things he said, he gave me a guitar, that little dobro guitar that you saw. He gave me that, and he said, he had a voice like, he said, "Eric, now don't you ever quit playing guitar." He said, because you can be really down in the dumps and it'll pull you right out again. And that's just an example of really good advice. You know, music is something that definitely can help. It's just a really good example. See all the sheep here. It's just a really good example, you know, of taking advice. That's kind of what I'm wanting to talk about, is taking the advice of wiser, older people, you know. And so what am I not talking about? What I'm not talking about is listening to everything that everybody always says. That's not what I'm talking about. Going and asking everybody what they think about everything, about a topic, that's kind of not what I'm talking about either. And there's actually nothing wrong with asking a whole bunch of people about something that you're interested in. But that's just like research. That's research. researching something that might be good to you, and you're asking somebody what they did. You know, hey, what kind of spark plugs do you like to use? That's one thing. But what I'm talking about is something different. I'm talking about specifically seeking counsel. I'm talking about asking somebody that you trust what they think about something. So like, he's biting my leg. You know, that's what I'm saying. What do you think I should do about a topic? I'm talking about not listening to people like, I'm not talking about conversations and really paying attention to people. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm specifically talking about listening to and heeding people's advice. About 2 years ago, this is something I really started doing. There was something that I needed to know, and I would ask an older, wiser person, you know, hey, what kind of chainsaw should I get? I'm not familiar with chainsaws. What kind of chainsaw should I get? So I'd go to somebody that knew about chainsaws, somebody that I trust. So that's what I do. Somebody that I know, somebody that I trust, and I'd talk to them. Now you're following me? So I got really distracted with the animals. What am I getting at? I just decided, like, I've been trying to figure a lot of stuff out and learning from all my own mistakes and just trying to do things. And I had this thought, I'm just gonna listen to wiser, older people and do what they say even if I disagree with it. Because I'm not asking people just to figure out if they agree with me. I'm trying to figure out what it is that I really need to be doing. I want to learn from other people's mistakes. So you don't just ask this to anybody, but somebody that you trust. Somebody that you trust, you'd say, hey, in fact, this happened with me. I didn't know anything about sheep. It's a funny story. I actually picked somebody up off the side of the road. Their camper had broke down, and they were just a couple miles from their house. My truck was a total mess. One of them actually had to be in the bed of the truck. But anyway, and they were an older couple too. It was him. Anyway, when I pulled up, I saw that they had sheep, and I was like, oh, you have sheep, I want to get sheep. And so he invited me over and showed me his sheep operation. And I was looking it up, and I really wanted to get a certain breed of sheep, and he had different ones. But I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take his advice, whatever he says. And I was going to buy some of his sheep. And I went there, and then he said, you know what, you don't want these sheep. These are some I'm just trying to get rid of. And he specifically said, if I was to start over again, I would start with this other certain sheep, which was the one that I was looking up, you know. But I was about to just take his sheep and listen to his advice, but his advice was actually to get a different type of sheep that I'm really happy with. They're really tough sheep, and we raise lamb, and that's what we do, so we eat them. Anyway. I needed a chainsaw, and I didn't have a great idea as to what to get, and I talked to my stepdad, and he said, oh, you know, get a still. And I talked to my neighbor, and he said, get a 20-inch. So I ended up getting a 20-inch still Farm Boss, and I've never regretted it, you know. And like every sheep that I have had that wasn't this breed has been a really bad deal, you know. They were right. You know, the chainsaw, it's always started every time. They're right, you know. I have another friend who's just talking about investing, and it's so right. Personally, I a lot of times I'll hear my wife say something and I think like, okay, you know. But it ends up being, of course, that she's right. So I just start listening to her way more often because it's true. Like, so I was waking up and just feeling terrible all the time, waking up and just feeling bad in the mornings. Just talking to her about it, she's like, that's not normal. You know, and somebody in this men's group that I'm in talked about people just taking vitamins. And I was like, vitamins? I've watched YouTube videos. I don't need vitamins. Then she said, hey, maybe you should start taking vitamins. And I went to the doctor, actually the chiropractor. I went to a chiropractor just for routine stuff. And she said, you should ask him about multivitamins. And before I even could, he's like, hey, I think you might have a deficiency. You should start taking this certain vitamin, you know? And that's what we're talking about. Like, other people that care about you or other people that you trust give you some advice. Don't just look to be agreed with, you know? Specifically, In fact, specifically some of those things that you don't agree on, but people keep talking about or keep telling you about, that's the kind of stuff that you should listen to. That's the kind of stuff that you should try. Listen to what other people say. Specifically, even if you don't agree, just do it anyway. Give it a try. So I made a choice to do that. I'm gonna listen to wiser, older people. There was a time that I had a real bad motor problem, and I thought, you know, I can change the head gaskets on this thing. And I talked to my brother, who's done that stuff a lot, and he said, you might want to get a second opinion on that. And then I took it to a place. It ended up being the biggest disaster you could ever imagine. It would have been awful to have done at home. They ended up putting 2 different motors in there. Long story, but I really dodged a bullet on that one by listening to somebody wiser, older, and just doing what they say. Just like my grandpa, you know, grew up in the Great Depression and outlived 2 wives, and he's saying, hey, music was really important to me. And so anyway, that's why I was doing that. I've done that. Just don't forget those little nuggets, you know. And so back to sheep, I actually got to meet one of my online mentors, Judy, and I'm going to play that video. And he's definitely all about sheep, but there's some other nuggets in there that are just about life. And so I just wanted to share this opportunity with you. So we're here with Judy, Green Pasture Farms, and I wanted to ask him about basically words of wisdom that have helped him on his way and that he could share to everybody else. What do you say, Greg?
Yeah, I've got some really good pointers. My deal is start, write a goal down. Get a piece of paper and write your goals down. What are those? And write them down where you can look at them every single day. And the next time you get home from work or you're kind of down and out, you want to sit down and turn on that TV. Don't do that. Sit down and start planning out your journey. What are your goals that you want to accomplish in life? Folks, anything in life that you want to do, it's doable. Save your money, every penny that you can scratch together, and invest it in livestock. Put it in, when I say livestock, something that eats a green blade of grass. If you always put your money in something that eats a green blade of grass, you'll always come out. Okay? And that's because we don't have to plant it every year. We don't have to plow it. We don't have to have all the equipment. Basically, it's you, the grass, and the animal. And if you'll put your money into livestock, they will start paying you back. I call them my little workers. And guess what, Eric? They don't go on strike. The other thing that I would say is be passionate. You got to be passionate about what you're doing. If you're passionate about it and you love what you're doing, you're always going to be successful at it. And don't fret the small things, because don't start the journey unless you're willing to give it 10 years.
Ooh.
Okay? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get to that 3 to 5 year range, and you're just getting kicked, and things may not be working out, and you're getting disillusioned. But if you can hold in there till that 7 years, 6 to 7 years, boy, all of a sudden things start dropping in your lap. And that's because you're getting smarter, you're not repeating mistakes again, and your land's getting more adapted to your livestock. Get some social media presence. Start a YouTube channel, have a website, Instagram, Facebook. People need to know what you're doing. For them to come to Eric's farm, let's just say he's got grass-fed lamb. They don't know he's got grass-fed lamb, but if he's on somebody's living room 3 to 4 days a week. And so basically what you're doing is you're building this really neat networking where people, they feel like they're part of your family. That's true. Really do.
That's true.
And, we went from, I first started, I had like 20 subscribers. Within 2 years, we're up to 135,000. Wow. And so it does. It takes off. But you got to be true, be honest. If you make a mistake, own up to it.
Yeah. I want to say amen.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Yeah, so that's kind of some of them. There's probably some more I can think about. But
so what about just in life? Is there anything maybe something you tend to say, my dad always said, or my mom always said, or some little thing that just, words of wisdom that you kind of live by? Anything like that?
Yeah, treat treat people like you'd like to be treated. Every single day you wake up in the morning, you're going to meet maybe a difficult person that day. It doesn't matter. You treat them like you'd like to be treated. And that'll go a long ways. It really will. And don't be afraid to give. The more you give in life, the more you get back.
I agree. I've taken a lot of your words of wisdom. I didn't know a thing about animals, period.
Yeah.
Sucked up all the YouTube that I could. It's free. That's a ton of free knowledge that you shared with everybody. If you're into this, check out Green Pasture Farms. Greg, Judy, search him on YouTube. I'll put a link in the description.
Well,
thank you. Whether you knew it or not, you're a mentor.
Thank
you.
Anyway,
I appreciate it.
You came for our sheep days, and now you came back again and got a ram this year. So thank you for your ram purchase.
Yeah, no problem. I really, so we started with, I bought 6 junk that somebody wanted to get rid of, and 1 awesome stud ram from you. But now, that's all we eat. We haven't bought meat from a grocery store in 3 years. We just do it for ourselves. We eat lamb and lamb and lamb, and we never get sick of it.
Yeah.
Even my kids. They love
that's
it.
awesome. See y'all.